Good day to you. Jim Laird joining you live from Dariomo, Nicaragua. Let me get going here on Instagram. There we go. So we're going on Instagram. Hope you're doing well today. We're going to jump right into the topic today, a woman's essential guide to starting strength training. And, I heard this on, I've known this for years. Obviously, I was working, tricking women. Like I say, tricking women because women don't tend to gravitate towards the weight room. They tend to gravitate more towards group exercise and spinning classes and things like that, which is fine. Those things can work as part of a well-rounded routine. But I found that strength training combined with some lifestyle changes is superior for getting what most women want is a leaner, more athletic, capable body. I've known this for years. I've been working with women, getting them in the weight room for almost 30 years now, and it's kind of been my kind of how I built my whole business basically on that. And so, I was listening to Peter Attia the other day, his podcast, and he was talking about one of the number one questions he gets is, "Yes, I'm a woman. I know I need to strength train, but where do I start?" Okay. So I'm going to go through my process of how I basically work. Because most women that come to me they come to me because they don't like where they are, right? And then of course they had a friend or they saw or they heard from somebody else that I was able to help them in a little bit different way than normal. Because most women, they go back to doing what they did when they were younger, which is restrict calories and do more cardio. And that's generally they've tried that in the past, and now they're a little bit older. Things have changed. They've got a busy life, and all of a sudden, what they used to do to lose weight or doesn't work anymore. And they come to me. Usually, most of the women that come to me are usually working really hard. They're doing marathons or they're doing some sort of exercise routine, and it isn't giving them the changes they want. So the first thing I do when I sit down with somebody is I talk to them and I'm like, okay, who are you? What do you want to do? What's your goals? And we want to make sure that their goals are clearly defined. Is their goal to be a high level marathon runner? If so, that's totally different than somebody that's like, I want to look good and feel good, and I'm doing marathons to do that. Fair enough. Could we get someone to look a little better and feel a little better running marathons? Maybe. The amount of time it takes to train to run a marathon. Most women don't have that in their schedule. They're more apt to do other things that are going to give them much better returns. So we need a clearly defined goal. And once we have that, we can start, plugging some things into the system. Next is we need to look at lifestyle, and we don't need people to be perfect, but women generally are taking care of everyone else but themselves. They're busy. They're running the kids around. They've got a job. They've got a career. They've got, they're usually in a relationship of some sort. They've got all these demands pulling on them. So they very rarely do anything for themselves. Right. They may go to the gym, but it's usually things that they really tend to like things that make them really tired and exhausted. That's usually what they trend towards, which that leads to, not being able to control what you eat. Then most women gravitate towards more carby foods. They generally don't eat a lot of protein. So right there, we've got somebody who's neglected their self-care. They're not taking the time for themselves to relax. Generally, a lot of the women I work with have worked with, they're working a job and they come home and they got to take care of the kids, and they're not getting to bed till 10, 11, 12. And then they're getting up early the next day. Their sleep is broken. Their circadian rhythm is broken. So usually I'll pick one or two things. Usually it's like, let's get outside, 3 times a day. That's one of my favorite ones because, not only it gets you outside, it helps fix your circadian rhythm. And I tell them to walk for relaxation, not for exercise. And so it becomes an observation tool, which is like almost like stress management. And a lot of women will tell me, like, I can't believe how much better I sleep and how much better I feel just by going outside and walking, putting the tongue in the roof of my mouth, looking around. Most people have no idea how much chronic stress they're under until they look at like data on an Oura ring. Most of the people that come to me, they're in a bad place. They usually have a higher respiratory rate. Their HRV is usually low, which means they have low adaptability as far as their nervous system is concerned. And they also get very little restorative time day to day. So I've seen women that, they were trying all sorts of different exercise programs. They've gone to all sorts of different coaches. And we look back over 6 months, and a lot of them have zero restorative time throughout the day. Now, I'm not saying you need to have hours of restorative time during the day, but you need to have more than zero, right? And so a lot of it is, and a lot of times people will tell me, well, I don't feel that stressed. Well, you get used to a certain stress level. You get used to a certain lifestyle, and that becomes your normal. And most people forget. They're like, well, I've just been doing this for so long. I don't know any different. And so they just keep pushing. So having data and seeing, where they're at, what their sleep score is, how much deep sleep they're getting, all these things. So if we can make a little bit of effort on say, walk outside 3 times a day after meals for 10 minutes, and let's get a protein at every meal. Those are really actionable steps. And that's really what it's all about. We want to give people actionable things that they can actually start going in the right direction. Then once we get a little buy-in on the self-care part of it, we can say, okay, let's take a look at how you move. If I got somebody who moves well, who has worked out before, maybe they've done, CrossFit or whatever they've done, we might be able to jump into things a little quicker than somebody who hasn't worked out at all. The number one thing I'm going to do is get them on the floor. I'm going to get them to move around. I'm going to see how they move. I'm going to see how they compensate. And the number one thing I want to do is raise just general physical preparedness. We want to build work capacity. So we want to get the body moving in a way that's a little more efficient, and that we can load and that we put stress on without causing any major issues. And then we want the body to be fit enough to handle the stress of training, because a lot of people will put a lot of stress on somebody and they don't have the ability to they don't have the capacity to actually recover from it. So that's a big part of it. But the good news is, if somebody's brand new, they don't really have to do that much to get better. They can do some really simple things and add muscle mass. I've seen it over and over again. I've seen, women put on a significant amount of muscle with just body weight, and just adding more protein and getting more sleep. So we want to build that foundation. And in that foundational building, we want to make sure we encourage women being able to get into the zone of apposition, which is rib cage and belly button lined up. And a lot of women, because of just the way they're structured and lifestyle, they tend to use the hard arch. They tend to arch really hard to get their stability. They jam into their spine, which is nothing wrong with that. It's not a bad strategy. It's just that if you load that and that becomes your only strategy, you end up getting in trouble. So if the only way you can deadlift and squat is with the hard arch, it takes away movement options. And over time, that can cause issues. So I want to be able to keep that rib cage and belly button lined up when I'm doing things like squats, deadlifts. I'm picking exercises that help enforce the stack, so to speak. When I started doing that, I learned that from Bill Hartman years ago. My incidences of elbow issues, hip issues, knee, foot, all the things, just, very, very rarely would I have somebody that would have those issues if I picked exercises that they didn't arch hard on and we didn't drive that one strategy. Now, there's nothing wrong with extension. There's nothing wrong with flexion. We need to be able to do both, but we want to be careful what we load and reinforce, because what you load and reinforce in the gym will show up in everyday life, or it will show up on the sports field if you're an athlete. So we want to make sure that women can brace, they can engage their middle, and they can use the appropriate amount of force necessary. I love to put in body weight flowing warm-ups at first, and then add a little bit of things in to teach women how to brace. So they know the difference between bracing to pick up a dog food and then what they need to do to walk, which is flow and relax, right? So you need to be able to do both sides of the spectrum. You need to be able to pick up something heavy, and then you need to be able to relax and flow. And most people get stuck on one side or the other, and they can't switch back and forth. So then it's just a matter of a couple of full body workouts a week, depending on time, depending on equipment, maybe a box squat, maybe a wall sit, depending on where you're at, some sort of push-up type movement, maybe in a Smith machine, maybe static bears on the floor, some sort of pull down. And then the other day we're working on some sort of hinge movement, maybe a step up, or a lunge, row, and so forth. So it full body workouts at first, and then we just basically adjust according to that person. But it doesn't take much in the beginning. Then there's things like throwing medicine balls and sleds, and a lot of it is like giving people the right amount of stimulus for where they're at. Because you'll have people that are brand new, they do a warm up, they do a 3 or 4 trips through a really simple circuit, and they're finished. And that's all they need to do to get better. You have other people that need to do a little bit more. But in the beginning, particularly, we want to build skills. We want to get people moving well. So then when we need to go to the next level, we have the skill set to do that. A lot of people pull the intensity in too early and they go crazy, and then they don't have a foundation to move up to the next level. So that's basically where it starts, is lifestyle. And then, hey, let's just get you moving well. Let's do some foundational movements. Let's do some floor warm up. Let's build some fitness. And then we can basically pick and choose what we want to push, when, and how. And that's basically the foundation of it. If you'd like to learn more about my process and look more about how I help people, just go to the Vitality Sisterhood. It's a free community. If you're watching this on Instagram, you can just type in sisterhood, and you'll get a link to be added to the group. And I'd love to see you in there. I do a weekly Q&A call. I've got videos. We've got, nutritional stuff. Get in there, interact. Accountability is really the big thing. There's so much information out there. Let me try and simplify it for you, make it simple, make the process nice and concise, and you're better off doing a few things really well than a whole bunch of things really, really, submaximal, subpar, so to speak. You're better off doing a few simple things very, very well than chasing all sorts of shiny objects all over the place. So I hope you're having a great day. Please like and subscribe this. If you know somebody that could help, this video would be helpful for, please pass it on. And like I said, if you're on Instagram, just type in sisterhood in the comments. If you're on YouTube, you can go in the comments or go in the description. There'll be a link to Vitality Sisterhood there. Just go ahead and join. Obviously, it's only for the ladies. And I hope to see you in the group. So have yourself a great day. Make sure you get outside today. I can't stress enough how important it is to get outside multiple times a day. So unless we get a few questions, I see we have a few people watching. I've been doing these. I probably need to do a regularly scheduled live stream. I've just kind of been hit and miss lately, trying to get in a rhythm and a schedule. But thanks for joining me, and have yourself a great day, and we'll see you again soon.